Hi guys, Andy from Superheroes here, just to give you a few more important party tips for various situations that may arise, various complications that can happen in the course of getting to and performing a party. So first up we have what to do if you're running late. Now you should try and avoid this at all costs, but obviously stuff happens, accidents happen, traffic can get in the way, and there may be a situation in which you find yourself running late. First thing you need to do is stay calm, because the only thing worse than turning up late is turning up late and stressed and rushed and sweaty from having a panic attack. And there's basically you need to judge it on the extent of how late you are as to what you should do. If it's between 5 to 10 minutes late, you should just call up the parent and explain, and let them know that you'll stay 5 to 10 minutes longer at the end to make up the time. If you have an afternoon party or something and it's your last party from the day, you can even offer to do extra time as a bonus. Let Andre know afterwards, like in your notes, or send him a text, just in case the parent brings it up and he needs to know about it. He can be aware and deal with it in a better fashion, and always be aware of the exact time that you did start the party. If you are going to be more than 10 minutes late, do the same thing, but call Andre and let him know if possible. Remember, of course, always that you shouldn't talk on the phone if you're driving unless you have a hands-free set. If you are working with another person, you do have the option of them getting the party started and then you entering a few minutes late. This obviously isn't ideal because they're going to have to meet the mum beforehand and explain it. But it can work quite seamlessly. You just also need to work out some way of letting them know that you've arrived. For example, I remember one time I was running a bit late doing a party with Phil where he was Shaggy and I was Scooby-Doo. So I just gave a really loud wolf howl from outside as soon as I got there, and that told him I was there, and then he made the kids do like their call out for me and stuff like that, and it made a whole nother entrance of it. If you do know earlier in the day that it's going to be super tight getting from one party to another, like maybe a complication's come up, there's a part of your costume missing and you're going to have to dash back to the garage, try and flag it beforehand with the parent of the second party. Just like, I do have another party just very close beforehand and it's going to be quite rushed getting there. Just so you know, I should be there on time, but there's a possibility that I'm 5 to 10 minutes late. I will let you know if I'm going to be late, and if that is the case, I will do extra time at the end to make up for it. Just reassure them and let them know that everything's going to be under control and they're not going to be, there's not going to be a situation because of it. All right, so what to do. This is what to do when a parent asks for something unreasonable, silly, or just that doesn't gel so well with your general plan for the party. It's often things like they might want to do the cake in the middle of the show, or they want to stop to have lunch or something like that. And it's just really important to remember that what they say in the end goes. You're there, you're a professional, you can give them advice, you can say, I think it would be better if we did this, and you can say why, but if they want to do something, that's what they get. They're the ones paying for the experience. So what you will basically just have to do is adapt. You can explain till you're blue in the face that sitting down for lunch in the show is a waste of the show, but if that's what they want to do, then that's what they want to do, and maybe you can use that time to make the balloons or something, so you're still being productive and interacting with the kids while they're eating their lunch. Just get them to bring their lunch and sit down. But basically you just got to look at the situation and work out a compromise that basically allows you to still deliver high quality entertainment while keeping the parents' wishes happy. When you don't have a present for the child, happens sometimes they forget to put it in the box, sometimes you leave it in the car, things like that. Basically, your first option is to make a really good balloon animal or something like that. If you realize you're on the way to the party and you don't have one, then you can go to like a $2 store nearby and just pick up something hopefully theme relevant to that. And one of the other options, if you've left it in the car, is basically to put it in their mailbox after the party and just text the mum, let her know, and the kids can then go on an adventure to find the present in the mailbox after the party finishes. What to do when you forget or are missing part, like an integral part of your costume. Obviously, first step is to look at the time and work out whether you have enough time to go back to the garage and pick it up. If you don't, you're just going to have to make do. $2 shops nearby may provide a way to, or like a cheap clothing store like a Kmart or something, if you just need like some black pants or a black shirt for army or something like that. If it's not super noticeable, don't even mention it to the parent. But if it is the case that it is super noticeable, you'll just have to explain, apologize, and reassure them that you're still going to do a killer party anyway, and it's still going to be amazing. For example, I had to do a Mickey Mouse costume once without the Mickey Mouse ears, and the parents, I explained it to them. They had a bit of a laugh at me, but then they saw how well the party went, and they didn't care at all. What to do if you've never done a character before and you don't really know about it. In this case, obviously we have sorry, I just tapped that. Obviously we have the character synopses, which are available on the staff homepage or in the staff Dropbox. That should always be your first point of call. You'll look at those and see what Andre's written about them, because he's done all of those before and he knows how to integrate them into the show, and it's all written there for you. Your second option is YouTube. YouTube is your best friend. They are most clips from children's things. It's normally weird things like Octonauts or Skylanders or things like that, which are quite popular with younger kids, but you may not have heard of, maybe a generational gap thing. And look at YouTube. There's often a lot of clips there which give a pretty accurate, can be from the show or give a pretty accurate representation of the show. What to do if there's a piñata at the party. If you can avoid doing piñatas, it's usually pretty good, because it acts well as a resource for the parents to keep the party going after you've left, and there's not really that much you can contribute to making a piñata better. It also tends to just be a hassle. You spend the whole time making sure that the kids don't bash each other with the bats, and making sure nobody becomes an exercise in damage control rather than actual entertainment. If you do have to do it though, first make sure you're clear at a safe distance, and also that the children waiting are at a safe distance. That's got to be like 2 meters, because they're going to sneak forward and you have to be super vigilant with that. 2, if it's one of the piñatas with a lot of strings coming out the bottom, this is one where kids are actually meant to grab those strings and pull it rather than bashing it with a bat or something. 3rd, always make sure that the kids who grab the more aggressive kids, the ones who grab a lot of lollies, should be sharing those with the other kids. And finally, just make sure nobody gets hit, which is the most important thing. Okay, so some tips for parking. Most of the parties happen in suburban areas, so parking generally doesn't tend to be a problem. A lot of people will also specify in the event description if there's parking on the street or if there is a street nearby with parking. When possible, you should always park a little way down or around the corner from the house, just so you can get, especially if you're not changed, because then you can get changed without kids coming across you and finding a half-dressed Superman, and immediately suspension of disbelief is gone. It's all right for kids to see you once you're fully dressed, because then they get excited, they run and tell all their friends, and it gets the party a little bit more excited before you get there. But they should never be able to see you half-dressed, because that does ruin the illusion. When you are parking in places like inner city suburbs, you should always leave a bit of extra time if you know it's going to be difficult to park there. Some parents might even tell you that parking is difficult. Sometimes you're just going to have to pay for it, and Andre should reimburse you for this. Just let him know. But wherever possible, you should aim for free parking. If you are in the city, there's an app called Parkopedia, which is a pretty good guide to city car parks. And if you're able to carpool for gigs like this, it's also helpful. But basically, you just got to allow yourself a lot of time to make sure that you do find a park and can get to the party on time. Just a general tip in terms of appropriateness with the kids. Kids can often be quite affectionate, often over the top. They're normally aware of personal boundaries with adults, but it becomes quite blurry when it's with entertainers. It's when they think you're Superman, you're their idol, things like that. And you'll often get situations where like a child will come up and hug you, or say something like "I love you." If they give you a hug and it's in like a group setting, that's fine. Obviously, just return the hug, be quick. If a child says something like "I love you," best response is always just to err on the side of doubt and say, "Oh, that's so sweet," or "That's very kind of you," or "You're very loved too," but try and avoid being too personal and saying "I love you too," just because it'll weird out the parents if they hear it. What to do if the parent asks you to stay a bit longer? So firstly, if you need to decide whether you're able to, because obviously if you have another party in half an hour, it's not negotiable, you don't have time to stay longer. But if it's your last party for the day and you have nothing on afterwards, then the decision is up to you, whether you stay longer. And you're also able to set a price for the extra time if they offer to pay you, and it's up to you then. Obviously be reasonable, be fairly generous and professional and courteous there, because you don't want to leave a bad impression just before you leave the party. Okay, so advice for food and drinks at a party. Whether you can eat or whether you can have something to drink. What you should be doing is scheduling regular drinks breaks for the kids. You don't want them to get dehydrated. If they get dehydrated, they get grouchy, they get upset. And then it's fine to snag a quick drink or something to eat very quickly, but bear in mind that food especially makes your mouth full, and then you can't be talking to the kids, you can't be interacting with them while you're eating. So obviously maybe like grab something small that you can eat very quickly and then resume your interactions with the kids. In some families they will actually ask you to eat the food. Obviously don't do it in the middle of the performance, but some families will offer you a plate of food at the end just before you leave. It's generally considered polite to accept this, because in a lot of places it's kind of rude to turn down hospitality, to turn down food like that. So that's fine. You can stay and have a bit of a plate of food and have a bit more of a chat with the grown-ups, which is a good thing as well. If they offer you drinks though, firstly, you're going to be going to another party, you're going to be driving, so that's generally a bad idea. But also the kids don't want to see their superhero having a beer or something. It kind of ruins the illusion a little bit, so I would stay away from that.